Welcome to My Best 11 podcast. Today we are joined and we are actually paying homage, I suppose, to, in my opinion, and Miles' opinion, just I think after Liverpool, the greatest club in the world, Luton Town. Today we are joined by a man who has seen over 1,300 matches in his time. And now he does what every boy dreams of. If they can't become a player, they dream about talking and meeting players. So we are here and we are joined by Simon Pitts. How are you, Simon?
Very well, thanks, Andrew. Thanks for that introduction.
Fantastic. Well, we're going to dive a bit more into your history and things like that, as well as going through your best 11 players you've ever seen who play for the club. We are, as ever, joined by my co-host, Marv. How are you, Marvin?
Good. How are you, Simon? I mean, this is going to be an interesting one, shall we say, episode, because it's the first real one, really, that we, I mean, normally we research and we dive into, okay, he's been at this club, that club, but with the odd celebrity one, as we call it, yes, this is going to be a bit of a hit and a miss, maybe, if I don't get the era right.
That's it. I've got plenty to choose from. So, I've tried to freshen it up a little bit, gone a little bit out there with one or two choices. So, not to make it too easy to guess and perhaps to give a few more names to have a chat about as well.
Fantastic. So, obviously, we actually, when Marv and I were speaking about this, we kind of, we said, what type of caveat or what type of principle does Simon pick this on? So, and we gave you kind of open slather, but you kind of set some rules in place rather than picking a player who you once had a loan signing that was an absolute brilliant player. So just talk us through how you picked your best 11.
So yeah, it was a difficult task. I mean, as many people out there know, I like my stats. So the first thing I did was set up a spreadsheet to put together all the matches I'd been to against all the players, therefore who'd appeared in those games. So in competitive matches, there was 452 players for me to start with. So that goes back from 1983 when I saw my first game. However, I didn't see a massive amount of games in the 80s. I wasn't living locally, so it's just the odd game here and there. Saw a few games in the mid-90s before going to university when I was able to up the total. So the majority of my matches have been after leaving university when I started at the club in January 98 onwards. So the first thing to say on this is one of the criteria I set myself is that I'd had to have physically seen the players play. And I decided, I looked at it, number of games, and in the end I went with 40 games. There's one reason, because one player just slips in because of that. So that you might think, why on earth 40, why not 30, why not 25? But I thought it also gives me a good sort of basis for having seen a player enough to be able to class them as being, in the best 11.
Yes.
So first of all, straight off, that rules out all of those excellent players that we had in the 80s. I just didn't see them live to be able to be put in my best 11. So, when we go through those that narrowly missed out, there are some that made the appearances that would have counted, but there's an awful lot. Looking at the likes of Les Seeley, Andy Dibble, Mal Donaghy, Steve Foster, David Moss, Ricky Hill, Kingsley Black, David Priest, Scott Oates, Paul Walsh, Brian Steen, Nick Harford, all the favourites that, I know your guests in the past that is their era will have picked. They miss out because of this criteria that I'm setting myself to try and just, as I say, freshen it up a little bit, give you one or two other different players to talk about and to review as well. I then added in that I wanted to... Football's very much about results, obviously, but it's also about the memories. And following Luton Town is a roller coaster. It has been since 83 and surviving and, staying in the top flight to being relegated, to going down to non-league, to coming back up again to where we are now. Cup victories in there, League Cup wins, Johnston Paint Trophy wins and the like. So for me, there's some very special memories through those years that I've been following the club. So one or two players, it may be, well, they're not necessarily the best player in that position, but they've given me a very special memory. They've given the fans a very special memory, and that's why I've picked them in my best 11. Because to me, it's about the memories of following Luton Town as much as it is those performances and those players.
Fantastic.
There's a nice mixture in there, hopefully.
Sounds great. So what we're going to do is we're going to delve straight in and find out, first of all, your formation. What formation have you gone with?
So I've gone with a flat back four, so 4 defenders. I've then got a midfield of 4 as well. When you see the players, you'll see there's a little bit of flexibility. I've gone with 1 up front, and then I've got a number 10. I've got an attacking midfielder, really. And again, that's because of who I wanted almost to shoehorn into the team without disrupting the rest. So more will come out when you start to see the players as to exactly how I've done it. But I have to say, even when I got it down to 137 players that have made 40 appearances, I've still spent weeks and days fiddling around with formations, with players. Oh, I've got to put him in. No, I can't get him in if I've got him in. And I even made a very late change recently that will come up shortly. So, that it was very difficult.
Although he hasn't got 100-odd players to pick from, now you know what it's like for Jonesy to, you know what I mean? When you got a squad of players and to be putting those players in a position to, as maybe not, obviously he's doing it to win the game, you're going to do your favourite. It's still very difficult.
Indeed. And, there's several players in here that we'll look at who I've left out that I've been very fortunate enough to get to know as well over the years. In the role that I've had at the club, you get to know certain players, and there's 1 or 2 that are just brilliant people to know. But I've tried not to show favouritism. So those people that do know me well, and I hope you're not too disappointed if you've not been selected. But you have given me great memories, and we'll touch on those as we go through each position.
Definitely. So we'll jump in straight to goalkeeper then.
This is a nice, easy start for you.
Excellent. Are we good? So guesses, as ever. Most people haven't listened to the podcast. Try and give us guesses, and I'm assuming, as you're known as, I think on Twitter, you're Simon Statto Pits. I'm sure there's going to be some statistics in here. So a couple of guesses, and then once you've gone through the main player, you can give some, like we've always done, give some honourable mentions to people who you think need to be mentioned.
Yeah, there's a couple of honourable mentions on here, but this one was a dead easy choice for me. Out of the 12 goalkeepers that fit the criteria, this free transfer is certainly one of the best free transfers we've had. I really can't give too much more because it's somebody that I've seen play more than any other goalkeeper in the time that I've been watching.
Andrew, I'm gonna I'm not gonna sell myself too early. Free transfer from what division was it? Give us a division of what club? What club? The division.
What I'll say now is they're in the same division as us now.
Oh,
but they weren't at the time.
I think I might. Is he? No. Was it from Peterborough?
Yes.
Oh, of course. Do you know what? I forgot Peterborough are now in our league. That's what threw me. I was kind of, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Go on then. You got it.
So yeah, and he's now. Is he coach or assistant manager at Peterborough? Is that right?
Yeah, he's goalkeeping coach. Yeah.
Fantastic. So Mark Tyler.
Indeed. 297 appearances for Luton. Joined us, in the non-league. Made his debut against AFC Wimbledon, our first match in the non-league. The goalkeeper that I've seen more than the next 3 all added together, appearance-wise. So a dead straightforward choice for me, that one. Particular memories from that. I mean, he's got more clean sheets than any other Luton Town goalkeeper. Remember the penalty save against Wrexham in the playoff semi-final that, we'd been 3-0 up in the previous game. They scored early in the match. He then saved the penalty. It could have easily been 3-2 so early in the game in that second leg, and he saved that. Memories of the clean sheet at Norwich against his boyhood club. And Mark is also someone that I got to know well as well at the club, and just one of those players that was so genuine, so easy to talk to interview. He was always very much, it's my job. He's just played an outstanding match. He's made great saves, and in an interview, just go, that's what I'm paid for. That's my job. So yeah, that was the I say the proverbial first name on the team sheet because it was the goalkeeper position, but it was also one that was a fairly straightforward choice for me.
Honourable mentions? Anyone who might have come close to him?
A couple from the 90s. Ian Foyer, obviously a great American keeper, really tall, real character, in the times when we were trying to go back up in the mid-late 90s. Kelvin Davis, also another young player, youth team, came through the youth ranks, both with over 100 appearances for the club. I'd seen them 40 and 50 odd times each. So those two were, they were there, but Mark was always the number one. And I mean, even now, our goalkeepers, Simon Sluga, to have an international keeper on the books, made some vital saves to keep us in the Championship after a difficult start to his time at Luton, but certainly shining through now. Obviously, James Shea just keeping him out of the squad more recently. But yeah, honourable mentions for those three. But, there wasn't too many keepers to choose from. And when you'd seen Mark play for what was 7 years nearly, then that took up a big chunk of it.
I want to. So going back, Simon, why Luton? Why support Luton? Where is it? Where's that come from? And who was the first goalkeeper you saw back when you saw your first game?
So the reason for Luton is through my dad, thankfully. So I have dad to be very grateful to. He was brought up near Hitchin as a young boy and decided to follow Luton when he was a kid. I was mad keen on football when I was growing up. We lived in Suffolk at the time, so this was the one that always gets people. I was born in Dorset and lived in Suffolk for most of my life. So the question always is, well, why Luton? But yeah, that's the reason, was through dad. Just followed in his footsteps and gone on. He still goes to games, season ticket holder still now. So through him.
83, what did you say? Was that your first game you saw?
1983, yeah. December 83, we beat West Brom 2-0. Les Seeley was in goal in those days.
Right.
Where do you like to? I mean, being around the ground, where do you like to sit? Where is your favourite place in the stadium to sit? Not necessarily, well, maybe to commentate and also to watch.
So I did mix a lot actually. When I was a fan, I'd been to a lot of games before I was commentating. So I used to mix around. So I've sat in both the Kenilworth Road end behind the goal. I've sat in an enclosure in the main stand. I can't really. I mean, it was great because Luton Kenilworth Road is so close, and you've got the pitch so close. When you're growing up and you're watching football like that, it was fantastic, and the atmosphere is always good. So I don't think I particularly had a favourite as a fan. Favourite position, as I say, I used to mix around and change, but being behind the goal is great when you score because you're seeing it really close, but then you're not seeing as much at the other end. Being halfway line, you've sort of got a mixture. More often than not, we'd go in the enclosure, either side of the halfway line, when I was getting tickets before. And then commentating, I loved the view up on the TV gantry, but boy, could it get a bit nippy and a bit wet up there at times. So being down in the press box certainly does have its advantages during the game. Yeah.
And have you now switched round to the other side? Do you sit down the other side, or are you still up top?
No, I'm down in the press box now. So since we got back into the Football League, it was around that time where we had to provide ISDN access to visiting clubs. So the line that was up on the TV gantry wasn't suitable, obviously, for visiting commentators to go up as well. So yeah, we moved down into the press box at that point.
Fabulous. I still remember watching people climb up that.
Yeah.
It was. Have you ever been up there, Marv?
Heights.
No, I mean, when I helped out, when Simon Oxley was doing commentating and stuff, then he's in the press box, which was, I felt like, that's a great view, great position. You see most things from that position. So no, I don't know if I would have ventured that high up. Should I have been asked to go as high as that?
Fabulous. Right, so we'll keep going on your best 11 you've seen. So we'll go right back.
So right back. This one, again, was probably a fairly straightforward decision. Again, this was my undisclosed transfer. So money-wise, I've not spent a lot of money on my team. There's several that have come through the ranks. There's a few free transfers. This one was an undisclosed transfer, again from a team that are currently in our league, although I don't think we were at the time. So scored 5 goals, 95 appearances for the club. I saw every one of those matches in a 2-year spell. I'm not sure I want to give too much more away on that one.
Okay, was he also an international?
No.
Okay. No,
That's where I was going, my brain as well. I was thinking Preston.
No, that's why I wanted to rule him out straight away. Was he English?
Yes.
It's like a game of Guess Who.
No,
just flicking the things down. Did he wear a hat?
He's still playing.
He's still playing.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. In our league.
Okay.
Go on, Andrew.
Did he just have actually? Was he really well received a week ago? Or I don't know when this can go out. A few weeks ago, when he came back for the Caldini winner game.
Yes.
Yes.
Is
it Jack Stacey?
Indeed, it is. Yeah. Yeah,
yes.
This one was another one where you looked at the players that I've seen in that position. I've put him, as I say, at a right back in the back four, but clearly, the wing back role was Jack's role. The 2 years that he was with us, the promotions, it was almost a straightforward choice on that one. I mean, some notable other ones. I mean, you're going back a few years, but Emerson Boyce and Kevin Foley in that position, 2 youngsters that have come through. But I just felt that Jack has. I looked at it at what he's done at Luton, but the fact that he progressed now to then be able to go into the Premier League with Bournemouth as well, that that's a factor knocking on. But his performances for Luton in those 2 years, certainly one of the best attacking right back, right wing backs that I've seen.
Yeah, and also I think it's interesting for Stacey, not kind of going off onto somebody else in case he's later, but it's quite interesting about how he actually kept, everybody's raving about James Justin, but he actually kept James Justin out of that right back role. And Justin actually had to flip to left back just to get in the team, didn't he? So I think that needs to be something that he said, because everyone's raving about Justin, but yet Jack Stacey was that good. And that the overlaps and that type of thing worked so well, particularly in Nathan Jones' first time, then Mick taking over. It worked amazingly. I mean, do you know what happened when he got to Bournemouth? I know he got injured, so he wasn't always in the team. Was it? Do you think? Obviously, you've probably spoken to him since. Was it too big a jump?
No, I don't think the jump was too much. I think it's just, there's a lot of adapting, isn't there, when you change clubs. He has gone up another level. The injury, of course, didn't help. So I think with something like that, when you're performing so well, you have got to have everything go your way when you move to a new club and, you're moving up a level again. You think, he started with us down in League Two, didn't he? And has worked his way right up to Premier League level. So I don't think he's any worse a player for it. I've not seen a lot of his performances at Bournemouth as to whether their style of play was different, that he didn't have such an attacking role. He didn't have somebody like Andrew Shinnie to link up with in the same way that, those two were, telepathic at times, weren't they, with the passing, that, if there was a goal scored that involved Stacey, chances are Shinnie was involved in it somewhere along the lines as well. It's those kind of things, doesn't it, that do make a difference for a player at one particular club.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, he's an attacking wing back, or he ended up playing effectively as a wing back, even though he's still right back. Is it something that you look for and enjoy watching? Is that attacking? You say you sit in the enclosure and obviously the press box. Is it nice to see that bombing on that wing? Is that something you like to see?
Absolutely. I mean, the formations that we've seen, particularly under Nathan Jones in recent years, obviously like the diamond, he's going with 3 at the back more often now and the 2 wing backs. Just to see that attacking football down the wings and, some of the players that we've had over the years, we'll touch on a few when we come to the left side as well. And when I look at right side of the midfield positions, those opportunities that you've got to create chances down the wing and the attacking flow in football, it's lovely to see. And Luton have always been renowned for playing good football, and that's an aspect of it.
Yeah, and I think it's actually an area that the club's been renowned for is fullbacks and wingbacks. I mean, you think about some big transfers we've sold and players who we've actually brought through, Marv included. Obviously, you could play centre back also on the left as well. I think it's something that we've done as a club very well at doing.
I mean, just listening to you guys talk, I think it's something which has been it's a culture now with Luton that, I mean, we play. I mean that's always from when I obviously joined as a kid. It was a case where you played. The yellow team down the road. I mean, they're more direct. I mean, you call them they're associated with the long ball game because of obviously Graham Taylor, Mr. Pleat. Obviously, was he wanted to play football, and I think that's what gets associated with the club. And I mean, and it's always been the way where we've had fantastic fullbacks, and like Simon mentioned, he's mentioned Kevin Foley and some boys, and you can mention go all the way back to Tim Breaker, Basha, Kirk Stevens. I mean, Rob Johnson. They're all footballers. I mean, then you wouldn't associate them with a long ball or kicking around or a bruiser. I mean, every single one of those were tough, but at the same time they could play.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll move to left back.
Okay, so left back then came through the ranks. Only played from debut to last game 3 years between them, but it's 114 appearances, 6 goals. Again, a player that's still playing.
In the Premiership?
Indeed.
Yeah, I think I've mentioned him a minute ago.
Yeah.
I was trying to be coy and in my question. That's why I didn't mention him too much. So you've gone for James Justin.
James Justin at left back. Yeah, if you can't get him in at right back because, as you said, Stacey kept him out of the team, then this was a tougher call. I mean, there are a couple of noticeable worthy mentions because James Justin, he made his debut from memory in the left back position against Villa. At the beginning of that season after coming off the bench for the Exeter game the end of the season before. And as you say, because he was being kept out at right back, he did actually play left back quite a few times. So I've put him in there. But, you've got the likes Matthew Taylor. I saw him over 100 times back in 99 through to 2002. And, he was another cracking attacking left back, left wing back, left midfielder. Great shot on him. Another one that came up through the ranks. But then when I looked at his goals ratio and he sort of nearly snuck in on that because he had scored 17 goals from 146 appearances. But I just felt, James Justin, the way that he's again gone on for his career, potential England international. Well, he is an England international. It's the injury ruled him
right
out potentially of the Euros, didn't it? Just felt that he deserved that place. If you've got Jack Stacey on one side, you've got to have James Justin on the other. The best wing back players together, I think that the club have had together at the same time for a long time.
Yeah, I think it makes it difficult for oppositions if you've got two. Quite often teams are lopsided, and I think that's just natural. You always see him play down one side or the other, but it's good to see that. Which one do you think James's best position is, though?
Oh, I think the right back is the right back was certainly where you expected him to be if you hadn't got Jack Stacey in the side. But equally, he was dependent at left back. And when I looked at the stats, just having a look, I can tell you the difference between his left back and right back. And it's almost a 50-50 split. In fact, he played at left back more than he did right back.
But his output was the same, from what you can see. Yeah.
So, it shows that he was so dependable, and that's the other reason that he's in the team. I mean, you're looking at players, utility players that can fill more than one role, don't you? You know, I'm looking at this as a competitive fixture, and therefore, should anything happen, he can fill a gap if required.
Oh, definitely, and it's nice to see you got a young Luton scholar in there as well.
Yeah.
Fabulous. So, before we got into centre backs, you mentioned, or we mentioned earlier on, over 1,300 matches. Do you find it difficult to remember all those games? I know you said you've got a big spreadsheet, but when you're kind of put on the spot, how do you go with remembering that many stats?
So, yeah, I mean, a lot of the time I do rely on the spreadsheet for stats, or if they're a bit different or out there. There are occasions where games just click and you remember exactly what happened. There's other times where somebody can ask me about a game this season and I couldn't name the goal scorers. You know, I'll tell you the result, I'll tell you what happened, but sometimes it's the more modern stuff that you struggle with, because although it's fresher, you're not talked about it as much necessarily. Whereas in historical, I've worked on a book a few years back, and you're going through things then and you're reliving the past, and that brings back memories. There's certain games that obviously always stick in the memory more than others. So yeah, I do rely on the stats an awful lot, and you start looking at games and think, I went to that game, but I don't really remember it. And then randomly, I remember when we went to Sheffield United at the weekend. I'd only been once before back in the 90s when I was at university, but I could remember going there when one side was flat, they hadn't got a stand there. I could remember having to follow the team coach to the ground when we came off the motorway because I'd written the wrong directions down on the paper, because no sat-nav or phones with Google Maps or anything in them days. I wrote the directions out of the programme and wrote the wrong one out. So it's things like that, albeit so many years ago, that sort of triggers in the memory. But yeah, there's other games that are also equally forgettable for one reason or another as well.
Yes, yeah. I was going to ask you that, to put you on the spot, rather than asking the most memorable favourite game. Which game still churns you as a fan?
York City at Wembley.
Very quick, easy response, and I reckon most Luton fans would say the same. But what's your, obviously, because we had a number of chances to go up, but why the York game rather than say, we'll say the Wimbledon game or something like that?
Well, the Wimbledon game, I mean, those two equally disappointing. From 96-97, the game at home to Crewe in the playoff semi-final, where we got it back and thought we were going to go through, and then conceded again. So the York one, I think, because of the issue over the goal, VAR these days would have ruled that out. The assistant ref should have seen it. So you feel hurt and hard done by that particular decision cost us in the game. The Man City one, so close. Jason Walker could have been a hero with a header that just comes off the outside of the bar and then does a stupid penalty that's one of the ones that's missed. So off the post, his header. Another day, that's a fraction in and you're celebrating and we're up. But I think longer term, when you look back on it, the club has progressed probably better having gone up when we did, and how the team spirit and the fans and everything have been built back up, than perhaps if we'd have gone up earlier, albeit we wanted to get out of that league as quickly as possible. The frustration and the disappointment from those two finals. I remember going, walking away from both Wembley and Manchester City Stadium, just absolutely gutted and down. And to say the same with the Crewe playoff game. They're the ones where it's the missed chances, isn't it? It's the missed opportunities. So
no, it would be. Marv, same question to you. Which one for you as a player was the most frustrating or disappointing game that you can remember playing in?
Yeah, probably similar to the Simon's, the Crewe game. I've spoke about it before. We went obviously to Crewe in the first leg, and I think it was 2-1. 2-1? I think we're 2-1. I mean, I didn't play the first game. I'm not saying that's the reason why, but we had a lot of injuries and a lot of suspensions, I think. I got back for the second game, and again, we got up. We got the goal back, and then I think we went 2-0 up, and we were like up now, in control at home, obviously. And I think that season, I'm not sure. I think we might have beaten them 6 at home, 6-0 or something like that. 6-0 at home as well. So we would be confident. That season we were very confident in every game we played. And so that's probably the most disappointing game, because obviously it was a playoff game, and also what we had achieved that season. We were very much in control, probably right up until the last third of the season in the league, where we just suffered, like, result-wise. Our form was poor, I think, going into that as well.
Does that make a difference in playoffs? Going into it, form, or do you treat it as a player as something different?
I think naturally, I mean, as a player, I mean, being involved in that one again, I mean, I think if I don't know what you can ask Simon the stats. I mean, like, teams that have that momentum and just get in for that sixth place or whatever, and into that last week of the season, I think they're the most dangerous teams you can end up playing, because, like I said, it's their form. Your form. If you've got someone who's been up at the top and leading the league, and then all of a sudden, like, the last 4 or 5 games, they get a bit nervous and they drop into the playoff. That, I mean, the stats would be interesting to know how many of those teams have got promoted who have been that way in front and dropped into the playoffs, like, without getting automatic promotion. It would be interesting to see those stats.
Because, of course, 96, 97 was the disappointment where we thought, we were trying to go for automatic promotion, and we lost it right at the end of the season, didn't we, with, Stockport, wasn't it, that won in the midweek with their game in hand. That meant the final game of the season was meaningless. Another season, and we're up without the need of the playoffs.
We'll get onto positives a little bit later. Sorry to bring it down on it. So we'll move across to centre backs, whichever one and the other.
So 2 choices, right? This was one was straight in, not a problem. The other was the last minute change. There was 1 or 2 notable ones to review. So let's give you the one that, again, another youth player through the ranks, made his debut in a cup competition, played his last game in a cup competition.
Did he go to a Midlands club?
No.
Ooh,
Not Curtis Davis.
And it's not Leon Barnett.
Oh yeah, no. Of course. I forgot about that. And Leon Barnett was West Brom. Yeah, that was a good question, Mark.
So the clue that I could add to this is I only saw just over a third of this player's appearances. They didn't score many goals, but there's 2 of them that are very memorable for me that put them into this position.
Are they a one club man?
Yes.
Did they?
Go on, Mark. Go on.
I was going to say, was it a Simod Cup game? They made their
debut. Yeah.
And it's one of the most memorable goals you can remember, apart from, is one of them the Ipswich game?
Yes.
Can you guess it, Marv?
Well, it's embarrassing. I don't like saying myself. I mean, you didn't have to do that, Simon. I mean, again, listen, it's your team, but at the end of the day, I mean...
I said, though, one of the things for me is memories, and your goal against Ipswich, Marv, I lived in Suffolk at the time. Loads of people I knew were Ipswich fans. One of the best games that I've seen as well, because, it shows Luton's fighting spirit that night. We were 2-1 down from the first leg. We were 3-1 down at half time. From memory, in the second leg, they'd scored. We came back. We got it to level, and then Steve Davis scored and scored an own goal.
They're going
we're going out. It's late in extra time. It's under the floodlights at Kenilworth Road, late in the game, and you've popped up with the winner, and just enjoying that moment, was just incredible. So that was that's one of the goals that I will always remember for my personal enjoyment in Suffolk, with all the Ipswich fans that thought they were going to knock us out. And then also before that, after that, your goal against Hartlepool that I know was featured by the club, and I know is your personal favourite goal because of the team goal, but that's also one of the earliest bits of my commentary that actually still exists. I think that was possibly the first season where I was commentating to an audience in the TVs around the ground, and some of the videos got kept and were used for the end of season highlights. So, that goal, I know when the club put it out back along, I thought, wow, I'd only been commentating for a couple of years, and chances are that was about the first season that it was on tape for historical and prosperity. So, yeah, it wasn't just because you're hosting Marv. You honestly were in there because, as I said at the beginning, I wanted to pick players that have done something that's given me special memories from watching over all my times, and certainly that night was one of the classics.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think. Oh, sorry, Andrew. That game as well. I mean, for me, obviously, is not just because obviously scoring the winner, but like those games back then where it's like home and away, two-legged things. That's something I really miss from today's game. I know a lot of it's to do with money and fixtures and stuff, but they still should have those games where it's like home and away, because like you said, we had lost the first leg and then come back to Kenilworth Road, 3-1 down, they score first, and we get a goal back, Stuart Douglas just after half time, and Andrew 40-yarders, and it's like, whoa, game on sort of thing. And then it's got the twist and turn of like, we then go, Steve scores a great header from a corner, and then like scores an own goal, and you're going out now and all, and it's like, you're in extra time, the last minute of extra time. This is now 2 hours of football on the night, and it was like Richard Wright in goal. And then you had like Kieran Dyer playing that night. You had that Tarico for who went to Tottenham. They had some good players playing in their time in their team, and so like you said, the fighting spirit. Cup night at Kenilworth Road, you couldn't beat those nights, and that for me was. The best. I love the night games more so than the day games, especially the cup games. And I think just that being that occasion and us like getting through over the two legs was fantastic.
Yeah, great memories. So yeah, in there on merit, Marv.
Congratulations, Marvin. So we move to the next one.
So this was the one that took a little bit of umming and ahhing, and who do I put alongside what? I looked at the players, and there are notable mentions in there, and I was trying to pick why this player should go in. And
are you going standalone, or are you going for complimenting Marv?
Standalone.
Yep. Okay.
And this one came down. This one came down to memories as well, actually. So both centre backs are picked on merit, as well as, not just good players as well, but also for the memories. And when I looked at all of the options that I'd got in there, every single one had got a good reason for being in there for a very special memory. So I'll go through the notable ones when you've guessed who it is, because if I go through the notable ones, I think you're limited then as to who I've got left. But this one, another free transfer. Only scored 3 goals, played less than 50 games. But there is a memory that stands out that they are in that position.
Free transfer.
Do you remember them more for goals scored or defensive ability?
Generally, they would be, at this moment in time, remembered for a goal scored.
Got it.
You got it?
I reckon so.
Go on, then. Go on.
I'm.
Andrew, give it. Say to Simon about another club he played for. Then who you're thinking of?
I think he.
Also
if he
played
played that, I don't believe he played this few games though, unless it was because he was injured or.
Where else did he play, Andrew?
He doesn't look like your orthodox professional footballer.
Andrew, you're like a politician.
No,
Give me another club. Give me another club.
I don't know another club he played for.
I'm not sure you've got it on that, Andrew. Actually,
no, you know who I was getting at there.
No, but I. Sorry. Yes, he is on the notable list.
He doesn't look like an orthodox. I was going for
You
Steve
were thinking
McNulty.
of Steve McNulty.
Yes, I was going for McNulty for the memorable goal, the volley he scored.
Right.
He was penciled in at one point, and then was rubbed out. But yeah, that goal against Southport has had over 337,000 views on YouTube with my commentary on it. So that his goal goes viral, but obviously my commentary's over the top. And that goal is special. But yeah, he got nudged out.
By this free transfer.
Now you know why I couldn't. Now you know why I couldn't know who he's. I know he's still playing, or is he just retired?
He's gone as a manager somewhere, I think, or assistant manager somewhere.
Probably somewhere up near Southport Way or something like that.
Was that Fleetwood, wasn't he? Was that Fleetwood? I think it was at Fleetwood.
Yeah.
Did not play? Yeah.
Right. How many clubs has he played for?
Yeah.
Oh, there's been a few.
Okay.
Few. I was gonna. I mean, did he play for? Did he ever play for Stevenage?
No. He almost didn't make the cut because I almost had one other criteria. So I didn't bring this criteria in because I was going to, and then I haven't. And because of what's happened, he's nudged his way in. And the clue I get, it's been mentioned already.
He's been mentioned.
We have touched on this player and the game that I'm
going to go. Is he now, and I think I've got the player right, is he now working at Everton?
No.
Oh, jeez.
So he's not, so he didn't go Burnley to us back to, no, because that was money. So it can't be Steve Davis because that was cash.
Yeah, he was a free transfer. You said he's a free transfer, yes?
Free transfer, yeah. Centre back may not have always been his position, of course.
No, that's what I'm thinking.
In fact, it wasn't always his position. He's played in several different positions at Luton.
Have you gone? Did he used to play at Wigan?
Yes.
Have you gone for the most recent memory possible as to why he's in this team? Has he played 50 games? Has he played over 40 games now, or is he the person who's just over?
No, he's 48 games.
Wow. In 12 months?
Yeah.
Cal Naismith.
Yeah.
In 12 months, is it? I can't believe he's played that many games.
Yeah, I wasn't going to pick current players. That was going to be one of my criteria because of obviously the squad are playing still. But that goal against Bournemouth, I'd penciled in. I mean, just to go through some of the other notable ones. I mean, I'd looked through the two on the list: Steve Mcnulty for the goal against Southport, George Pilkington for the goal against Oxford and that night, and just generally, for his length of time at the club. Other ones, Curtis Davis, I think we've mentioned in talking about young players. Chris Coyne, again, both of those because they scored goals against Wrexham when we won the League One title. That was a fantastic day to be there when that happened. Alan Sheehan was another one that was on my list, captain for the two promotions, and obviously now back as a coach. And Marcus Heikkinen was another one that I looked at, Finnish international, because of his performances when he was at the club. But yeah, I literally, that's one of the positions where I've probably taken the longest and actually swapped a couple of times. But yeah, as soon as Caldini scored the other day, it was, scrub out who I'd got in. He's got to go in there somewhere. that memory, so late in the game. Yes, it's a fresh memory, but it was one of those that brought the roof off again. And it's his performances, his utility, as I discussed earlier, picking players that can play in more than one position as well. So he's got the option there in the team. But yeah, that goal against Bournemouth just incredible.
And obviously myself, myself and Marv aren't there because we're thousands and thousands of miles away. My old man was there, my sister was there, and they described it to me. But what was it like in the ground when he scored that goal? How big was the eruption? Because obviously you can see the video. There's a video from outside the ground. I think somebody took it from outside Kenilworth. Was it on a scale of kind of Mars Wrexham in terms of noise? Mars Wrexham, Berkovic's Hull, Keith Keen's direct from a corner. Yeah. Was it up there? If you go to Moncur, Portsmouth.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely in there. And I think this one, the Berkovic goal you talk about, Hull, that was because we needed to beat them two teams vying for the top spot, and that was the only goal of the game. So it obviously, that was huge, and that was quite late in the game as well, from memory. The Moncur one, of course, late free kick against Portsmouth. meant a lot because of what we were going for at the time. But I think the added thing with this one was the frustration from the disallowed goal, albeit he was offside. The whole way that happened just felt wrong. Yeah. The fact that we've been 2-0 up and looking really good in the first half, to them coming back, they're top of the table, to then get it back. And again, we talked about team spirit earlier in this podcast, and that just totally epitomises what Luton Town are about, have been in the past and are at the moment, that we kept going and we were the team that wanted to win the game. And just that bit of skill, it wasn't luck, it wasn't fluke, it wasn't undeserved, it was thoroughly deserved. And just the finish, to stick Lerma on his backside and sliding off into, pitching, I think somebody said he was going to end up in the way he went. And then to curl it in the only place that he could put it, around Jack Stacey's body, away from the keeper. Just absolutely fantastic. And the atmosphere was incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Fantastic.
No, I was going to say, like Andrew said, we're thousands of miles away. And I do obviously take in the odd game and the games I've seen him, he's been, so calm, so composed on the ball, which I've loved and seen, especially for a defender who can do his job. But on top of that, in this day and age, you have to be reasonably comfortable on the ball now. And so it's been. has he been that consistent, Simon, throughout every single game what you've been watching?
Yeah, once he'd settled into the club, I think there was a few fans that doubted why we got him when he first came in, but he was thrown straight into the deep end when he came to travel down to Bournemouth the day after, or the day he signed for the club and was involved in that. And then it just took a little time to settle in. But once he's made the position his own, he's been comfortable in several positions, whether it's in the back three and the centre backs, or whether it's then moving into that holding midfield role. When we changed to a back four, as we have done on a couple of occasions, it just seems so settled. And, you talk about utility player. In the past, he's played in the number 10 in an attacking role. And with shots like he did against Bournemouth, you can understand exactly why. And some people said, well, he's wasted at centre back. But, really is a quality player and, cracking free transfer.
Fantastic. So what we're going to do is we're going to pause it there. And then when we come back, we will hear the rest of Simon Pitt's My Best 11.
Thank you for listening to My Best 11 Pod. We are currently accepting applications for advertisement and sponsorships. You can reach us at My Best 11 Pod or mybest11pod@gmail.com. Thank you.
Welcome back to the second part of My Best 11. I'll go back through Simon's team in a sec, but what I'll do is hand straight over to Marv for Marv's modified 60 seconds for Simon Hits. Over to you, Marv.
Okay, quick fire questions then, Simon, just whatever comes to your mind. Bundesliga, La Liga, or Serie A for quality?
Go Bundesliga.
VAR or no VAR?
Improved VAR.
Favourite Luton manager?
Nathan Jones.
Favourite away stadium?
With Luton or without?
Without.
So I've actually visited the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and I think that to watch a match, that was an unreal experience.
Okay. Penalty shootout or golden goal?
Penalty shootout.
Fish and chips, pasta, or pie and chips?
Pie and chips.
Luton to win the FA Cup or Championship playoffs?
That's not a quick answer. Oh, Christ.
No, it's not. It's not, but it's a difficult.
Both.
No, see? No, I didn't say promotion. Championship playoffs or Luton win the FA Cup?
The playoffs is something else.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. I get slaughtered whichever one I go for on that. That you can't. I mean, the FA Cup and winning a major trophy, but the ultimate aim is to be into the top flight, and we can't do that without going via the playoffs particularly if you're talking this season, then, obviously top two are out of reach, but I think we're still pushing for, potential to do the playoffs. And I think if we were to win the FA Cup, I don't think the League One would go as well, but winning the FA Cup would be amazing.
To which one?
Sitting on the
Champions
fence.
Cup?
Sorry, you're breaking up there.
Okay. Messi or Ronaldo?
Oh, Messi. Still doing it.
Yes. Most memorable game you commentated on?
Again, I can't pick between two. Oxford in the conference and Norwich in the FA Cup.
Yeah, one more half.
Last one.
Yep.
All right, favourite Luton player this season?
Oh, crikey. As in who I think's been the best player this season?
At the moment, yeah. At the moment now. As we see,
I think we mentioned him. I think Cal Naismith has been the most reliable and the most, I think,
consistent. Okay.
He's certainly up there for player of the season as it stands.
Fabulous. So you mentioned Bundesliga. Have you ever had a chance to commentate abroad? Obviously, Luton never been abroad in terms of European competitions and stuff like that, unless you count the Anglo-Italian Cup. Have you ever had a chance to go abroad and do it?
No. I've. Wales is obviously our nearest European adventure at the moment. So Swansea and Cardiff and Newport and Wrexham and Chester, as it was, which part of the grounds in England, parts in Wales. But no, that's the nearest I've got to a European adventure. Okay.
Have you been hunting for that, or are you loving the Luton gig because you're a Luton fan?
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. It's as people say to me about the interest in it's a hobby for me, really. I enjoy it. It's something away from the daytime job. It's as a Luton fan, it's what I want to do. I'm not one that's been career focused on trying to get a gig doing TV broadcasting or radio broadcasting that isn't Luton, because I would miss Luton too much. So yeah, it's a hobby rather than an income for relying on a career.
Oh, that's really, really interesting. So, what brought you down the career path? I mean, you mentioned you went to uni and things like that. Is it something that you've always had an eye on, even though you say it's a hobby? What kind of brought it around as rather than going from just a hobby to actually going on the game itself?
So it all started. I mean, when I was at university, I did university radio, and I did their sports show on a Saturday afternoon when I wasn't at Luton games. So. I was at Loughborough and was able to travel down to some home games, and obviously sometimes other commitments meant I couldn't. So I did a sports show, and I just enjoyed doing the radio broadcast. It's the first time I'd done anything like that, and enjoyed it. Then when I left university, I did some hospital radio work back in Suffolk, where I was living at the time, and then happened to go to a game. I think it was in about November, December time in '97, having left university. And in the programme, there was an advert that they wanted a volunteer commentator for partially sighted fans. So a system that they just introduced where partially sighted fans could have a unit, an earpiece, and they just needed somebody to do the commentary. And I replied to that. Did the first one in January '98. In fact, the anniversary is today when we're recording this, which is quite coincidental. So 4-1 defeat, unfortunately, but and that was my stepping stone. Literally hit lucky that they'd been to a game, seen it in a programme, replied and got the gig, so to speak. And it's just sort of, one door has opened another, and I've just been so grateful for all the opportunities and the experiences that, that has led to TV work for promoting the club, doing Anglia regional TV shows, the highlights, to, hosting events for the club and the Supporters Trust and I follow and everything that has come with it since. So yeah, just so grateful for the opportunity.
Okay, what about Simon the player? School, university, college. Where did you play? What position?
So funnily enough, I played in quite a few positions, Marv. So out and out, I ended. Well, I suppose football for me finished around the age of 10, 11, when I had to start wearing glasses. So in those days, in the mid 80s, late 80s, there wasn't contact lenses or sports glasses. But during primary school and when I was a cub, played for the cub team, and then it was middle school. I was playing for the middle school, But then, as I say, that sort of died down as I started to need to wear glasses more regularly in sort of, I suppose, no, actually, it's probably older. It's probably about 12, 13. So it was when I went to upper school. By then, of course, much a bigger pool to choose from as you get older, the players get better. And yeah, I wasn't as good a player at 13, 14 as I had been at sort of 8, 9, 10 when I was banging the goals in. But yeah, I was a centre forward when I finished playing for the Cubs, but I'd also played as a goalkeeper as well. So
funny enough, I was going to say,
if
I had to guess, I was going to say a goalkeeper. I don't know why. I was going to say goalkeeper. I was going to throw that
goalkeeper in my younger days, and then moved up front. And the final year for the Cubs, I remember I was the league's top scorer. I always remember that. We won the league and cup double. So with my Cub group. But yeah, went to middle school and played for middle school a few times. And then, as I say, by the time I'd left middle school and gone to upper school, having to wear glasses and then being in an environment where the players were much better as they mixed in. And I seem to recall when we first had the football trials, very quickly the PE teacher at the time split us into two teams, the probables and the possibles. And I played in that match, and then he sort of took one team. It was quite clear those were the players he was going to stick with, and just sort of lost a little bit of interest after that you couldn't get a look in at that point. And it just and then I had a little knee injury around that age, growing pains as they say, so that sort of curtailed it more. So yeah, I've not really kicked a ball in anger for a lot of years.
Oh, interesting. It's interesting. So what we're going to do is we're going to get back to your best 11. So far, we've got Mark Tyler, Jack Stacey, James Justin, Marv, and Cal Naismith. So you've gone for 4 in midfield. So do you want to start on the wings or in the middle?
Can do whichever you prefer me to do.
We'll start off in the middle. We'll start off in the middle.
So we've got 2 midfielders who played similar era. One came through the rank, and one was the only other player that I've spent money on. One is my captain, and the other we have touched on in discussions about a particular game.
Yep. You got them both, Marv?
No.
So
is the one you spent money on the captain?
Yes. Should be fairly straightforward.
I'll write them down. You go, Marv.
The other one came through the ranks.
Oh, which one are you going for? Go for the captain first.
I'll go for the captain one first.
Yeah, go for the captain one first, yeah.
The captain one, how much did you say it was money-wise?
25k. Yeah.
From
Wigan.
Wigan, yeah.
Wigan? Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that? Started off at Charlton as a kid?
Yeah.
Yep. Like to light fireworks?
Yeah. Nico. Yeah. Yeah.
What was he like to interview? Was he, or did you always know he was just gonna say something crazy, or was he funny? Was he to interview,
I remember one game. I'm trying to remember if it's Altrincham or Kidderminster away. I can't remember which it was, but it was a time when we'd got I think Alan Nielsen as caretaker manager, and we'd won. And I was with Diverse FM at the time, and we always interviewed a player sort of live after the game. And this particular game, Nico wanted everybody out of the changing rooms, and they were all lined up waiting to be interviewed one after another. It was like, what do I do here? It was just, that was his character. And yeah, he was great to interview. I don't recall, because that was obviously the second time round from memory, because obviously he'd come to us originally in 2001, didn't he, under Joe Kinnear, and looking at the promotion then, and then he came back again from Leeds, didn't he? So yeah, this was second time round when we were in non-league, and that was just a classic. And then I think it was a naked Ryan Charles came racing out of the dressing room because he was being chased by Nico. There's a picture on one of the Luton fanzines with this towel wrapped around Ryan Charles and me trying to do an interview on the pitch. It was just brilliant. So yeah, real character. I got to know him as well. It was great qualities as a captain, real team leader. Real character, wasn't he? Marv's got far more stories than I've got about him, but yeah, just felt in that midfield you needed somebody with a bit of bite, a bit of grit and determination, that loved the club. You think of his, header in the JPT final, just threw his body at it to stop it going in. It was a bullet shot, and he's not cared about whether it's going to hurt or not. He's just got stuck in and headed it away. So yeah, that you need that in midfield, and I think at times, sometimes we've lacked that at some time in some squads that we've had the real leader like him, and perhaps some of his off the pitch misdemeanors might not be quite so welcome in this day and age, but yeah, certainly a great character to have at the club, and was always good to talk to, and gave up time with part of an email group that sponsored players' shirts and that, and Nico would sometimes speak to me after the game on behalf of me representing Whoosh, the email supporters group, and that was always appreciated.
Yeah, fantastic.
Also, I think, Simon, normally you have players, special central midfield players who are like ultra just tough and destroy things, and then they'd be technically very good. Nico had the blend of both. I mean, yeah. I don't think his footballing side of things got recognised as much as it should have done, because, I witnessed it, obviously, being at the club with him and seeing him in training, and just, his range of passing, short and long, and his tenacity, like you said, he was a winner. And I think that was one of the main things which stands out with Nico. He wore his heart on his sleeve, and once he crossed that white line, he would be definitely one player who would be definitely who I would want on my team, because when the going gets tough, Nico would get going, sort of thing,
Yeah. Fantastic. So that's Kevin Nichols, and next to Kevin Nichols is a youth team player.
Yeah.
You got this, Andrew, haven't you? You said?
I think I have, yeah.
Centre midfielder.
Made his debut in November 2003.
And I think I think it is who I think it is. No, I have in my head a really memorable game at West Brom.
Yes, he did score there.
Yeah, in 2000 and I would say 6 or 7. It was in one of those 2 years. I can't remember. Yeah. I'm losing that was over 15 years ago. And then he went to Preston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go on, Andrew.
He's got the same initials. Both his first name and his second name are the same initials.
Yeah. We've touched on the game that
he scored direct from a corner.
Yeah.
Oh, Keith Keane.
Yeah. I couldn't not put Keane now in. On the anniversary of that goal in February every year, I always tweet Keano and say thank you for that goal, because that is what really rocketed the commentary on Diverse FM and my the audio that fans were hearing, because it got put on YouTube, and again that went viral at the time, and that goal just summed up again the spirit of the team. 1-0 down against Oxford, who were top of the league. George Pilkington scores in injury time, and then Keith Keane goes and scores the winner. And that game in that February was just absolutely pushed Diverse through the roof with their commentary. And I was so grateful to them for the opportunity that when we went into non-league, I was covering for them home and away. With the support just built and built and built through that season. And then when that goal went in and that went viral, that just shot up then, and loads of people talking about Diverse FM and my commentary. So, for Keith Keane to score that, and as a fan, I just went nuts anyway. And it was one of those, I say to people, I'm just a fan with a microphone. So you get the passion like thousands of others in Kenilworth Road when that goal goes in, albeit I was the one that had got the mic, and that's what goes out over the airwaves. So,
do you ever get told to rein it in? The passion,
Not now. No, not ever on Diverse FM. So I think there were times when we did a joint with the BBC for a while, and I think that came as a bit of a shock that somebody would celebrate a goal like that, because obviously with them they're not used to. They cover lots of teams and have to show perhaps a little bit of not quite so much passion and exuberance with goals. So I think that there was a little bit of a shock there that somebody had come along and was celebrating like a mad fan in the press box. But that it's the thing is, it is what it is. I am a fan. That's my priority, and the commentary, as I said earlier, was a hobby that I thoroughly enjoy doing. So I am going to celebrate a goal and not necessarily come out with the best commentator's words ever or the best description of what's just happened, because I'm currently going nuts because we've just scored the winner in injury time, like Cal Naismith, like Keith Keane. And you literally say what comes out of your mouth at that time, thinking, well, I think the Cal Naismith one was just a yes, yes, yes being repeated. And, Keno's ones, I said something along the line, it was all gone quiet over there at the Oxford end. And, it's the spur of the moment. You can't script it. It has to be natural. It's what comes out. And you can look back and think, oh, I could have done that so much better. But, and I know it's not for everyone. I know not everybody enjoys my commentary. You get occasional messages on Twitter that point that out. But, you can't script it. You can prep for the team, the players, things like that. But it's live football. What comes out of your mouth, you may sit back and think, oh, I could have said that better, or I didn't really explain that. But you're involved in it. You're passionate. You get into the grips of the game. And you've got to try and put that across to those that aren't watching. I mean, obviously when it was radio only, nobody can see what you're seeing. So you've got to be descriptive and you've got to be saying what you see. But now there's a mixture, obviously, with the iFollow on overseas as well. Then people can see it. So there's a difference between radio and TV commentary. I've actually got to try and do both at the moment because some of our are listening only and some are viewing. So you've got to try and get that happy medium. But at the end of the day, I'm a passionate fan. I'm going to be down when we lose. I'm going to be up when we win. As I say, sometimes it is just a shriek of it's in or a yes, and that's it.
Well, we've all heard the Spanish commentary, so you could always just be shouting goal. So fantastic. So we'll move to the wingers or right midfielders, whichever one you want to do. We'll start from the right. Are we going wing? Are we calling them wingers, or are we call to give us a clue? Are we calling them wingers or midfielders?
Is this the one we were not going to get?
No,
is this the
yet.
one? Okay.
No. These two, there'll be clues enough that you should be able to pick up on. So the first one is another free transfer. He scored in 24 games and we only lost one of them. Could play either position on the right. So we haven't mentioned him as the right back, but he could have played there. And in fact, his shirt number at times would have indicated he was a right back. I'll leave it at that for the moment.
Yep. Andrew's got it. Go on, Andrew.
Yeah.
I can't remember where he got him from. I've got Walsall in my head, but I don't know if it was. Or is he tied to Walsall somehow? I've got Walsall in my head.
Come from Walsall.
Did he play for Walsall?
He might have done it. So I'm just trying to remember on that. Not too...
I might be wrong. I think I've got the player. I may have the club.
What other clubs did he play for, Andrew?
How do you keep asking me these questions? I can't remember this type of thing. It's 6:30 in the morning.
Oh my gosh! Well, just say him then. Just say his name. Go on.
He scored. I used to love him. I reckon he split the fan base 50-50.
Oh,
not in the end, but during the games. He used to annoy as many people as they did love him.
But he did play for Walsall, I can confirm that.
There you go, you're right then, Andrew. Go on, Andrew.
Did he score the winner in the Johnson's Paint Trophy?
He certainly did.
Yeah. Claude Napka. I love Claude. I loved Claude.
Yeah.
But I reckon he annoyed as many people. I used to sit in the Kenilworth all the time. And I reckon so many people used to get frustrated with him. How many more step overs? Just put the ball in. He thought he was Carlos Edwards. Carlos Edwards used to do it and used to cream everybody with it, whereas he used to go with Claude. At what stage are you going to put the ball in? Come on. But, I can't believe. So you're saying statistically, every time he scored, bar one, we were undefeated. So not necessarily one, but we were undefeated.
Yeah, he scored 27 goals, but they were in 24 matches because he got a hat-trick in one game. And, of the 24 games, we only lost one of them.
Wow. And, of course, he scored
St.
Johnson's Paint Trophy, that lob.
Yeah. Mm. And that was a game that I was there as a fan. Although I was doing home commentary for the club at the time, I didn't start with Diverse until that summer. So I was in the Wembley seats as a fan there. And I just think what an occasion! If I'd have been commentating on that, that would have literally capped it off as being the best game to commentate. But to be there as a fan, I could enjoy it, in the same way with 40 odd thousand others in and around me. So yeah, incredible day, and that he was just a character. He was a great bloke, and yeah, that goal for the final just had to have him in the team really.
Yes. Were you at that game?
I went to the game as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
As a fan on that day as well. Yeah, it was a great occasion for the club, and I mean, like I said, great goal for Claude to get, because I mean, looking at it as it was developing, it looked like he was never going to get there, and then he's all of a sudden, like the last couple of strides, he's got there. And I think the defender was waiting for the goalkeeper to come out, and the goalkeeper to come out, and he's got there in the lob, and it's like forever in the air, thinking, is it going to go down, come down? Yes. And then it was like you said, crazy.
Yes, fantastic. And great player. Like you said, great player, great man, and very funny man as well, those people who got a chance to meet him. So we've got Claude on the right midfield.
Indeed.
Any honourable mentions?
So actually, I mean, what I'll do is I'll go through all the honourable mentions, because I've done midfield as a general.
As a group? All right, we'll go through it afterwards. Okay, so we'll go
through the left side, and then I'll go through honourable mentions.
Yep.
So left side's another youth team player. Made his debut in 2008.
Oh, jeez, I'd left. Okay.
I could have had him in another position. He was penciled in at another position. Youngest player to reach a landmark number of appearances. I won't say what landmark, because that probably gives it away.
Did he? Oh my gosh.
Well, mine's gone blank.
He's still playing, but at a non-league level now.
Right. So was he from Hemel?
Yeah.
Hempstead? And he left on a free transfer, didn't he? Did he go on? Left a while ago. I mean, again, I'm trying to help Andrew. Should have really was quite a fixture in the team for a couple of seasons, and played. Did he play for the England something C?
England C team.
Yeah, C team. Yeah.
What year did he come?
His debut was 2008, but he come through.
Yeah, I'd gone. I think I had him in the youth team for a couple of seasons.
Final game was in 2016.
Oh, this is embarrassing. I don't know.
Played a lot of games.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just have a mind blank.
334, scored 31 goals. He's the player that I've seen the most number of games by one.
And he's going to kick himself. I don't know.
I will kick myself. Go on.
He was the youngest player to reach...
Jake Howes.
Jake Howes, yeah.
Do you know what? I forgot he played on the left midfield.
Yeah.
No, because he played everywhere, and I remember him as centre midfield, especially when we went down to the conference. He played central mid, didn't he, for quite a while?
Yeah, again, another versatile player.
Very versatile, yeah.
Left back played over 100 appearances. Left wing played just slightly more. Also played, in the central midfield as well. So, again, a good utility player.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, just for the number of appearances, as I say, he's the player that has made one more appearance, or I've seen one more match than one of the notable absentees from the midfield, Pelly Rudder-Kampanzu, who very nearly squeezed in there because an incredible run to go from non-league to conference with the club. But Jake's versatility at left back or left midfield, and as I say, the fact that he was the youngest player to reach 300 appearances for the club. I remember interviewing him after the Plymouth game when he did that, and he just took that position, being able to play on the left.
Very much so. So honourable mentions, who have you gone for?
Honourable mentions. So a couple that missed out purely on my criteria of not having seen them play enough games. Another skipper could have easily been Brian Horton. I almost squeezed him in because he was my first ever goal scorer. So back in December
the West Brom game.
For the West Brom game. So yeah, but I only saw him play twice. So he's an honourable mention because of that memory. Jean-Louis Valois. What a player he was.
He definitely wouldn't have hit 40 games.
No, 34.
34?
So,
wow.
34.
How many of those were in summer and how many of those were in winter?
Yeah, well, he played from September 2001. That debut against Torquay was just stunning. And he played that season, incredible talent. So yeah, deserves an honourable mention, but as I say, didn't fit the criteria. Other midfielders, again, a lot because of memory. So Matthew Spring scoring the goal down the road against Marv's yellow team, as he refers to them. That was a cracking memory, but then having pulled on a yellow shirt, just struggled to put him in my team for that. Amit Berkovic, we mentioned the Croatian sensation, the overhead kicks that he scored, the goal against Hull. Other midfielders around the eras, Alex Lawless, the Wolves goal that then meant we played Norwich, 2 goals against Nuneaton that sort of kick-started him back into the squad and the games. And I actually had Stuart Fleetwood commentating with me that day, and he'd asked to commentate because he'd been suspended. So to watch the game with the current player and for Alex to score twice, and Alex again is another great bloke. Other midfielders, Ollie Lee, goal from inside his own half, of course. The goal at Carlisle that gave us promotion. Cameron McGeehan. He had the dubious pleasure of commentating with me once when I was wearing a onesie to raise money for charity. So I think he deserves a mention purely for sitting next to me for 90 minutes, as much as what a brilliant player he was on the pitch and, the great runs and goals he scored. You touched on George Moncur's free kick against Portsmouth, a real highlight for me there to commentate on that one. And obviously scored against Oxford when we won the league as well. Jonathan Smith, what a player, ever dependable. And the fact that he returned from injury and a year to the day later scored a goal from breaking his leg, just really showed the spirit that, he's got a never give up attitude, a real quality player. And again, another great bloke to know and to speak to. So I thought, his 176 appearances for the club, is a good number of great performances from Smudger there. So there was quite a lot in that midfield that probably deserved a place, but just trying to squeeze 4 in when you've got so many great memories from all of those players. Just looking at that list again, then, they could have each gone in for their own right.
No, definitely.
Excellent.
So we will go to where the money is earned.
Number 10.
The number 10.
Is this your hard one? Is this the one you've squeezed?
No, I'm leaving the hard one till the end.
Oh,
I shouldn't really have told you there was a hard one, should I? Because then you're going to be thinking outside the box. So this player, this is the one that sneaked in because he made exactly 40 appearances.
Right.
I'd seen. Okay. So I've seen all 40 of his appearances for the club. He scored 3 goals for Luton.
As a number 10?
Well, I've played a little bit, but I needed to
for
get
the
him
ranks.
into the
Did he
team.
come for the ranks?
No.
Ooh,
I'm more thinking as a number 10 scoring 3 goals. I know that. I know number 10s are there to play, mate, but that's ridiculous.
Let's just say he's probably not what you would class as a number 10. You could say I'm playing a 5 in midfield and he's the attacking, free-flowing, go where he likes because he's got Keno and Nico behind him. He's got the 2 wingers, so he's sort of... Okay. You're almost saying that it's Nico and Keane as 2 defensive midfielders and then the 3 in front of them. So if you want to argue, it's a 4-2-3-1.
Okay. 4-2-3-1. Is it a free transfer?
No.
So he came through the club?
No.
Oh, he's a loan player then. That's why he hit just 40 goals.
Yes, loan player. Well done, Andrew.
He only scored 3 goals because I was going to go. No, because he scored a lot in his second. I remember Rowan Vine didn't score a lot in his first season.
He scored more than 3 goals.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was about to say. But in his second season, when we signed him, he scored a lot of goals. But I remember his first season, that title-winning one. He didn't score many goals, did he?
But there's another question for Simon. Is
a
he
midfielder?
More, that's what I say. Is he more of a midfielder being pushed up or a striker being pulled back?
No,
it's more of a midfielder.
He's a midfielder, yeah. So, as I say,
Yeah.
I probably need to correct the formation I gave at the beginning. You're probably talking he's in the attacking midfield 3.
Right. Oh,
so, yeah, looking back on it, yeah, I'm probably playing the 2 defensive midfielders and then the 3 ahead of him. Because that also allows the wing backs to push up as well.
I mean, this could have been the one he could have said he struggled with. I'm going to struggle with this one. He was on loan.
You won't tell us which club, because that'd be too obvious.
No, it's a bit too obvious.
Yeah.
Is he still playing today?
Yes. In fact, you could say he's probably his career is now at its best point.
No, that's not.
Oh, not you got it, Andrew. Your team, your son's team.
Oh, good shout! Great shout, Marvin. Kiernan Dewsbury Hall.
Exactly.
What a Marv! That's an amazing shout. I was thinking, I was going way back. I was going Chris Martin and people like that.
I thought just because of the way he played in that season, he just stands out. And I didn't want really to put loan players in because, as Nathan says, we bring loan players in, develop them, they go off and perform for other clubs. But when you can get a player like that caliber in for a season and can perform, he was one that, when I was looking at how I was lining up and what I was doing, I just felt I needed somebody to give that little bit of attacking through the centre without it being necessarily a front 2. And when I come to my forwards, I've picked one for a reason, but there were a lot of notable that I could have picked as well. So in the end, I went, no, I'm going to keep this one, and then I want that attacking midfielder behind.
Okay. So what was so good about him? I mean, to come as a number 10. I mean, there's so many players you could play in that position that Luton have had.
Yeah. Just his skill on the ball and his vision and what we're seeing now, he's built up, and obviously he'd done well at Blackpool on loan, but he hadn't created the name for himself that he did while he was at Luton. And I think the way that we've shown that we can progress a player that is now a regular in the Leicester starting 11, he's scored in Europe, he's had an assist in the Premier League, he's got close to scoring. And I just think the quality that was there, albeit it was only a year. And I did take a long time over this one because, as I said, I didn't want to be putting a lone player in when we've got, quality players of our own right in the team and in the players that I've seen. But just him on the ball and the way he played, and he was so consistent, and you could see he'd got the skill that he was going to progress and was going to develop. A real shame it's not a Luton, but just clearly. He has got Premier League quality to be able to be, flying his trade there week in, week out. And, I wish him every success there because, and again, another real genuine, down to earth. You don't want to sound disrespectful, but sometimes with the Premier League players, they've got this ego and they've got this sort of attitude and and he hadn't got that at all. He was just so much. And the fact that he's come back to Luton to watch a game and to receive a trophy for Player of the Season award, that he's done that this year, just shows what the club meant to him. And I think if somebody can settle into the club and have that much of a feeling, I notice he's even tweeted about Luton as well. I just felt that all in all, he was a quality player to have in my team. And, it was great to have him for a season, but that's with no disrespect to those players that I didn't pick that were our own players, so to speak, that could have equally gone into that position.
I mean, I saw a bit of him as well in that year. I know, like you've quoted that Nathan says, "Oh, you're developing like other teams' players," but for me, I mean, it speaks volumes because in this day and age, you still have those egos where you have some players who are at the Premiership clubs who feel it's a little bit beneath them to go out on loan and try and ply their trade. But for the moment, when he came to Luton, I mean, especially when I saw quite a few games of his games, he looked the one person who just seemed to have that more time than anyone else. It didn't seem rushed, didn't seem panic, and he had that quality where you thought, you looked at him and you're thinking, well, you know what, he can play at a higher level, which was the Premiership. And I think if he didn't obviously ply his trade with us and play, he probably still would have got into the lesser team, but not as probably as early as he might have done. I think it gave him the confidence. We gave him the confidence to go back and say, hey, do you know what, I can now force myself into this Leicester team, which he has done.
Fantastic.
I think it just shows, the quality that he's got, that he can then go into a Premier League team the season after.
Yeah, I mean, you say he's got 3 goals. Assist-wise, he must have put on a lot of assists, or was he more, in your mind, just a connector? And he eventually became the person who they put 3 players on. So sometimes the best players are actually the ones that everybody marks, and it means that everybody else around them can play.
He creates the space for others, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But his passing ability, it wasn't all about the goals. Once he did score, obviously, cracking one against, I think he did actually score against Bristol City, didn't he, that season, against Bournemouth, the winner down at the Vitality. So, yeah, just quality player.
Fantastic. So, we've got on number 10. Who is going to be the out-and-out striker?
So, this one's the hard one. I don't think he will appear in any other of your best 11s, with no disrespect to the player. There are obviously numerous forwards that you could choose from. This particular player only played 1 season for us again. 46 games, 12 goals. Another free transfer. And the only other clue I will give to this one is this is one of those on my memories criteria.
1 season?
Yeah.
But it was a free transfer, not a loan.
Yeah, free transfer.
How many
12 goals? 12 goals?
12 goals.
In 46 appearances?
Yeah.
I'm going back to conference days.
Yes.
Oh.
How many games did Andre...
Did he play... Go on then. I was going to say, did he play for a London club as well?
Now you're testing me. I'm trying to remember exactly who else he has played for. Let me just...
I think he played more than 1 season, Mark.
No, not a London. No, not known. Andre Gray scored 57 goals in 111 games, so he was on my list. But again, by pulling on a shirt of the yellow colour.
And after what he did after the James Collins goal.
Yeah.
12 goals.
Yeah.
Is he now as a striker, yes?
Yeah.
He plays as a striker.
Yeah.
That's a lot of games. 46 games and only 12 goals.
Just looking at his career, it doesn't look like anybody ever paid money for him.
I'm trying to think of players, because we paid money for Barnes Homer. We paid money for John Shaw in that era. Fleetwood was around for longer than that. Wasn't he?
Yeah, Stuart Fleetwood scored 27 goals in 88 games.
Yeah, he played a few seasons. It's the 1 season.
1 season, 46 games, 12 goals.
But a player who we signed.
We've even touched on the match.
Yeah, I know. I don't think I'd get it. Andrew might get him. I don't think I'd get him. Andrew would probably get him.
We touched on the match.
Yes. Yeah. I think it's the a game against York.
You're not going to stick Walker in, are you? I was going to say.
No.
I was going to say, after this little sign he held up.
Yeah. No. He certainly wasn't on the notable absentees list either.
But he was around that number of games. He must have been around that number of games.
Yeah, it was after him.
It's after him. See, one game. I mean, one season. Oh, I'm not going to get it. He's done us. He's done us.
Not going to let it happen.
I'm trying.
This will be the longest one on record just because you want to guess it. It's for one of his 12 goals.
I know, but like
he's in my team.
League. Okay.
He scored. Yes.
He scored. He scored in the against
was
Norwich.
he there for one season? Scott Rendell.
Yeah.
Yes, Scott Rendell. Was he there for 1 year? Now I just suddenly cottoned on. It was a Norwich game. Yeah.
Norwich. Yeah.
Scott Rendell.
Yeah.
Great goal. I was going to say
for the goal against Norwich. I mean, just as memories go, the non-league beaten Premier League. You know, there can't be many matches in the times that I've been watching Luton that there's a bigger upset. You know, stole the headlines, and you know it's a team game, obviously, but just for the memories of him netting that winner. And I was on the opposite side of the ground to all the Luton fans, so there's a video on YouTube that you can see I'm shaking as I'm filming it, but all the Luton fans singing and celebrating at the final whistle. I lived up in that, not far from Norwich, and again Norwich fans that I knew, but just the whole occasion for a non-league team to win at a Premier League team. It's up there, as I said earlier, with one of my best commentary matches. And Scott scored the goal, albeit great teamwork. Stuart Fleetwood, JJ O'Donnell down the left, great defensive work. A team game, but you know that goal, the memories of that are just excellent, just superb.
Yes, yeah. No, now it makes total and utter sense. So you picked Scott Rendell up there. He wouldn't be everybody's cup of tea.
No.
So you said you had a few honourable mentions. Who would be your honourable mentions and why? Because obviously you're not going to have a massive list.
No, there's several in there for different reasons. You know, again, as I said at the beginning, I tried to freshen things up, but try and do it a little bit different with memories of players, and that's why Scott was in there, because as goals go, you know, that's one that is up there for me.
I don't reckon it's undersold. I do think it's undersold, and I think maybe you look at Bradford fans talking about the Chelsea game. I saw it on social media a few days ago. And I can't help but feel that because it was Luton and we were still seen as a big-ish club, and we were down in non-league, it wasn't seen as a non-league versus Premier League. It was seen as Luton versus a Premier League, or Luton brackets conference. Do you know what I mean? Or it felt a bit like that. I don't think it's ever given the same, because no club's ever done it. No non-league team has ever knocked a Premier League team out, especially away from home.
No, I mean that was just incredible. So you know that's why he was in there. But on noticeable others, James Collins obviously scoring the penalty against Watford the other season, last season, to win that game. You know, and what he did for us coming through from League Two to the Championship. Stuart Fleetwood, you touched on. I mean, he's in there because he scored. He's still got the record for scoring in 23 games, and we didn't lose one of them. And nobody has done that, has matched that yet. So in every game he scored, we either won or draw, and that was a total of 23 matches. I also mentioned back along when we were talking about other players that he did some co-commentary with me, and he'd requested to do that, which was great that a player was actually asking to come and co-com with me. And talking of that, Harry Cornick is in there because of his commentary with me for the George Moncur goal. You know, as much of his performance. And Harry actually is the player that I've seen come off the bench the most. So of all the substitutions that have been made in all my time watching Luton, Harry's the most common with 66 appearances at the time of broadcasting. So, he's in there, but, you know, sitting with me for that commentary was just superb that night for George's goal. Andre, obviously, we touched on. I mean, he scored the non-league goal at Wembley. I had the pleasure of doing the commentary at Wembley, but as we said earlier, such disappointment for the final result there. And of course, the goals he scored in non-league won't be forgotten, albeit what's happened since. You know, but you know, for the time he was with us. Danny Hilton is Danny Hilton. He's in there. Tony Thorpe, another one, superb for us in the early 90s, and then obviously came back. And I remember when he came back on loan that he was a class above that league at the time. Obviously issues with the way he left the club first time round, but you can't be denying 84 goals in 192 games, and particularly in that 96-97 season. The goal at Newcastle, albeit I wasn't there, but that's a great finish for your first goal. So all of those players, and I know there'll be some in there that people will not even have wanted me to have mentioned, but let's look at what they did whilst they were at Luton Town, and reasons that grateful for what they did at the time. But yeah, some great players in there, and as I said, very difficult to pick them, but I tried to do something a little bit different and to bring back great memories for the ones that I selected.
Fantastic.
The last thing now you got to do is which Luton manager is going to manage that team.
So again, just to be a little different, yes, I have picked a manager, but I've also picked a backroom team. So it's just really because, again, when you look at the stats and you look at the people that we've had at the club, and again using my memories for what we've achieved, obviously David Pleat would be in there, but I'd say I wasn't watching many games at that time. But he's obviously the longest serving manager with the games and everything. So I look at the stats. I'm a big lover of stats. I look at what we've achieved. I look at where we are now as a club and how we've got there. So coming on to the manager, but first of all, you obviously need somebody doing youth development, and I think Marv would agree with me that somebody like John Moore is in that position for the experience that he brings. I've got a director of football just because he deserves some area in the club, and that's John Still. 147 games in charge, champions of non-league, to be promoted under him. He was a lot of the foundation as to where the club is now. And I feel that he needs to be honoured in that way, because, a lot of where we are now has been down to him and the work that him and his team did to get us up. The assistant manager, I couldn't pick him in my team because I had only seen him play 7 times. He would have been an honourable mention in the forwards, but I've got him in my backroom staff. It is, of course, the legend that's Big Mick. 12 wins from 20 games at the end of the 18-19 season, secured the League One title for us. He's involved in the club at the moment, and he'd be involved in my backroom team as well. But the manager, 257 matches as manager as it stands, 47% win ratio. First spell with us, 1.82 points in the league, the highest ever for a Luton manager. Currently overall in both spells, 1.67 points per game, which is only second best to Alan Brown on 1.74. He's the 4th longest serving manager as far as games is concerned, behind Pleat, Dally Duncan and Harry Haslam. Secured promotion in 17-18. Obviously started the 18-19 League One campaign, and then returned to keep us up in 2020. It is, of course, Nathan Jones. And, I know that there's a lot of issues in the past. Hopefully that's all been put behind us now for those fans that still think about what happened. He's learnt from it. We've got over it, hopefully. And, where we are as a club at the moment, everybody's played a part, but certainly with the way the football, the recruitment, everything behind the scenes has just progressed and progressed under his leadership, with the support of the board, of course, 2020, continuing all the off-field things as well as the on-field. So, yeah, Nathan is my manager. The memories that he's brought, the great memories of the promotions, the back-to-back promotions, and the survival on the final day against Blackburn.
Everything.
There it is. Everything. Yeah.
The whole excellent. Well, in terms of, you mentioned that this is a hobby. Not a lot. Just tell us a bit about kind of what you do in your day job and that type of thing, and how you manage to juggle that with all the statistics and spreadsheets and everything that you keep alongside the commentary as well. I mean, it's no easy thing to go all the way up to Carlisle on a Tuesday night whilst keeping a day job going as well. So just talk us through that and how you juggle it.
Yeah, so I've always had to take holiday, obviously, for away trips, particularly the midweek ones. So time off work. Thankfully, the positions that I've held over the years have been quite flexible and enabled me to do that. I currently I am a data analyst, which might come as no surprise to those that know my love of spreadsheets. So I do student data, so statutory returns for a university with information on students and looking at that. So yeah, I've got the flexibility to be able to travel, and it's tough at times with obviously long distances midweek, but as anything in life, you choose to do that, and the experiences and the opportunities that I've had from it. Like every fan, we've had the ups and the downs, and you enjoy the ups and knowing that the downs, the cold nights, travelling to Newport away when you got done 5-2 and Grimsby away 5-0. I remember years ago, and you take everything, don't you? You can't predict what's going to happen in football, and that's the love of it, and that's why the passion and the enthusiasm is there. And you go to every game hoping for the best and hoping that the team put in as good a performance as they can, and you come away from Bournemouth absolutely ecstatic, and you come away from Sheffield United disappointed. But as John Still used to say, never too high, never too low. I'm not sure I can always manage that, because sometimes it feels like an absolute nightmare when we've lost, and sometimes you get far too carried away on a victory. But that's the life of a football fan, and I'm just very honoured and privileged to be able to have this hobby alongside the day job.
Fantastic. Awesome. Well, it was lovely to hear from you. Thank you so much for giving up your time, and I know putting together some statistics and all those facts. It was honestly, it was great to hear from you, and myself and Marvin. I know all the listeners, especially Luton fans, will love listening to this episode. So thank you very much, Simon. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Simon. Appreciate it.
Thanks both. Been great to be involved.
Awesome. And that was Simon Pitt's My Best 11.